Good evening and welcome to the Poets Cafe, where the art of conversation comes alive. Highlighting a new era of the Poets Cafe, where artistic voices comes alive. As we welcome everyone into and across the threshold of a new beginning, we will honor the voices and faces on our second anniversary. Today's stories will mark a new chapter on the billboard for artists, writers, singers, poets, painters, and crafters, many with gifted talent, sharing stories of yesterday, today, and stories untold, poetically speaking. Welcome to the Poets Cafe with Ron C. McCray and Terry Benjamin. We will continue our journey into a new romance novel of relationship, with music as the lit of the soul and the rhythm moving the body from side to side, leaving only memories for our audience as we move forward in today's show. So, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Now, let's get started in our show and listen to the voices of the shadow winds blow, poetically speaking.
Let's get started. So, of course, if this is Thursday, it must be Poetically Speaking with yours truly, Terry Benjamin, and my brother here, Ronald C. McCray. Engineer for this evening is Brother Jeff. And, Ron, you know I got to check on our VIP lounge, make sure the people... So let's see who is in the VIP lounge tonight. So, looking good. And in the VIP lounge, Sylvia Carter, Pat Hughes, Benita Floyd Ward, Kenneth Washington, Dina Robinson, Ruby Shivers, Yvonne Tomlinson, Katrina Madison, Tara Branch, Odessa Joan Wallace Perry, Sharon Gaines, Barbara Davis, Kenneth Washington, Keith White, Deborah Dowser, Frank Talk, Darrell Jackson, Isu Canty, Evan Beyond Fitness. So that's who's in the VIP lounge tonight, and we welcome you, and we know we're going to have a great evening this evening, and this is the actual birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King. He was born on this particular day, January the 15th. Today's agenda, where do we go from here? Chaos or Community, which is from one of his books. The quote of the day is also from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and it says here, in the days ahead, we must not consider it unpatriotic to raise certain basic questions about our national character. And that's from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This is from 1967. But as always, we begin this evening with Ron's poetry. So, Ron, what do you have for us this evening?
You know, it's always a pleasure to have this opportunity. And as we all know, I'm always writing something. When the thought comes, you write something. And it's interesting because usually when I write something, it might be early in the evening or early in the morning. We don't know. But it always ties into some apparent reason. And I think it's by the spirituality of those who are positive in their way and finding their, way through life, what freedom is. And it always ties into our topic for the day or our agenda, no matter how you look at it. Mm-hmm. But let me read this. Okay. This one is titled Power to the People. Power to the people, voices deep within like a brazen fire burning beyond the flames of tomorrow's today. Mm-hmm. We stand marching like the silent march of 1928. Only the shuffles of their souls, leaving the pain of whiplash, the legacies untold. The power of silent footstep pounding the soil, thunderous and lightning, voice loud and bold, shouting unforgiving lyrics, a message in another language, sounds only the ununified ear knows. Freedom reigns across the skies like a soaring falcon, diving deep into the depths at speed that leaves no sound to be heard, as it penetrates with such force. Even the soul of the earth screams, release these forbidden shackles. Release our voice and listen to the songs we sang, loud and clear. Where trumpets will bring down the walls of Jericho today. The power of one with many to follow, moving as one, nothing to turn us back. We came this far by faith, leaning on and trusting in the Lord, our Savior. His promise never left. His presence is still near, covering his people, his children, as we cross over into today's black sea of bloody ignorance. Trying once again to shackle the mind by breaking down our history. We are a force to be reckoned with, a force that only the power of a higher authority can match, giving unlimited strength to carry the full armor all around, protecting a village, sounding the alarm without ever being heard. Turning back is not an option, not a choice. Fear does not live here. Fear feed the soul to carry on, across into for the power of one. We are the unified body, a body to be respected, a body that stands with the wisdom and knowledge, like our ancestors, full of courage, no weakness ever to be shown. We are one, not to be reckoned with. A black soul shaded with deep, pure, untouched, velvet, flavorful, radiant colors, shining like the sun, moon, and stars, glaring with such blindness only the internal naked eyes reveals its natural, raw, and unfiltered source of life. It was born from. The power of a race reveals the intimidation towards the weak souls of a wandering people, lost in their own wilderness, seeking how to destroy God's reign over his people, his chosen one. We shall not turn back. We are the force of one, cold-pressed, raw, and uncensored, now published that into today's news of the World's Landscape Journal, titled Power of the People, first edition, and will not be televised, but feel the power of the earth tremble with such power. Time is unforgiving to move and look for shelter like lava rushing down from an erupted volcano or the rise of a tsunami higher than mountain's plain without changing direction. As it bailed down, it does not discriminate.
That's power to the people. This evening, Laretha Foster Bram says, good evening. Sheila Bird, she said, good evening, brothers Terry and Ron. Good evening, Laretha. Good evening, Sheila. Glad to have you with us.
You know, I want to read this. This is something I put together for Sunday school, but nevertheless, it still ties into. And the topic of this one, a child shall lead the way. Keep this in mind, and it ties into today, even with our guests. Mm-hmm. Children are the future. Mm-hmm. You heard Whitney Houston sing that song. Right. But too often, the adults also will leave it to the kids. The kids don't know anything unless they are taught in the present time from you, which are their history. Right. They have to understand their past to move forward into the future. You're passing it on. Mm-hmm. But if there's no connection, then you don't really have a future. And now you're mad at them because they scattered doing what they want to do, but it's your fault because you didn't hold them accountable and to teach them and raise them right. Mm-hmm. Because Proverbs 22:6, raise up a child the way you want him to go, mm-hmm. and when they get older, they won't depart from it. Mm-hmm. This is why we are able to come here and to express our past today in the present. A future of peace and harmony on God's holy mountain, where predators and prey will coexist peacefully. Children will be able to interact with venomous snakes safely and play near dens full of dangerous animals. Paraphrase predators of evil men and women, young or old, criminals. This may happen near zoos or open safari. It is the next generation future to lead the way towards a brighter tomorrow, starting by preparing today. All of God's creation shall dwell together in unity. In today's, and I'm kind of skipping over, in today's society, we must continue to focus on the Word of God and maintain the attitude that youth knows what to do and how to find their way through tumultuous times. God said a child will lead the way. It is our job as adults to guide, listen, and support their weak limbs in this present day and time. Don't say, let the youth know. They need our help. We are their history, and they are tomorrow's future. Listen, lift them up, and don't just rely on God to do your job. And as we know, Whitney Houston, children are the future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. And that's going to tie into our presentation as we continue into today's program. And that's what's important.
Yes, like I said, today's agenda is where do we go from here, chaos or community? And we're going to get really into that even more this evening. But right now, we'd like to bring on our very special guests.
And as you know, and we always identify our guests, we recognize their title and position. If so, we respect it. However, we also say we address our guests as brother and sister, because this is a family relationship. This is a platform to come together and to unify. So I'd like to read this little bit of the background of this brother we have today. And I'd like to start with this before I give you the name, because that's important, because this is a proud brother that we're going to bring to you, and he's going to present himself to you. So you'll have more of an opportunity to delve deeper into his background and who he is. Baba and the Crew is a candid story of Bill Davis. Challenges and triumph as a single dad raising 4 children, ages 3, 5, and 7, and 9, despite the naysayers who believe children belong with their mother. Bill demonstrates that love, compassion, and structure will produce well-rounded, socially conscious, responsible adults. Readers meet each member of the crew and hear in their own words what it was like growing up in the strict family first Davis household. With help from the village, Suko, and forgive me, Toussaint, Imani, and Nehemiah are accomplished, socially conscious adults and continue to make Baba proud. And as we said before I continue, because this is important, it's not about the error and mistake, but it's about the apologies, if I make. But all that will be corrected, and that's what's important. But what's important is understanding the story. Bill Davis, affectionately called Brother Black, is a Newark native who was raised and educated in Plainfield. He is a graduate of Rutgers University with a major in African study and received his master's in education. Bill has dedicated his life to work for justice and equality for African American and people of color. At this time, we'd like to bring to you our brother, our guest, Brother Bill Davis.
Hold it now. I'm sure you're familiar with that that phrase. Welcome, my brother, Bill Davis Jr. And every time I talk to Bill about that, it seems like he's blushing. I don't know why. But ladies and gentlemen, VIP, this is a classic. This book is Baba and the Crew, a true story of a single black father's journey to redemption. Now, this was actually published in 2019. But again, Brother Black.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I read this book at least once a year because, again, for me, because I know you, and I can relate. But it's just such a beautiful story, and I love it got you here, and it also has the children there. Before I get into my questions, give us an update. How are the children doing? How's the crew doing?
Well, Terry and Ron, I certainly appreciate the invitation. I'm thankful for you brothers. I appreciate the work. As I was saying, before we came on, that this platform is an important platform that our community needs vehicles of information in which we can trust that the people who are providing information have the best interest of the community at heart. And so I want to congratulate you brothers on your second anniversary. You know, keep up the great work. And poetically speaking, I was raised listening to the last poets and Gil Scott Heron. And so, you know, I'm really loving and appreciating the title. Yes. And an update on the crew. I'll say this, that my father gave my children that name. Oh. And so whenever I used to travel places and people would see me with my children, and particularly since they were so young and as they aged, then, you know, they would always ask me, you know, what's happening, the same question that you're asking now, you know, what's happening with your children, blah, blah, blah. And so Naima, the youngest one, I have a grandson. She had a son a year ago, January the 9th. And so she works for an organization that is certainly in the spirit of what we're here to talk about today. It's the Black Feminist Fund. And so they have raised millions of dollars. They work with Black women all over the planet, Africa, the Caribbean, throughout the United States. And they provide seed money for health issues, education, different things in order to get some of the community-based organizations be able to provide the kind of support that the women in the community need. My daughter Imani now works at Lincoln Center. And so she is transitioning from the corporate world to the not-for-profit world. And, you know, social advocacy, those kind of things will be within the bandwidth of what her job responsibilities are. And so we're all excited about the great things she's going to accomplish working at Lincoln Center. Toussaint is living in London. He's been living in London for 4 years. He recently got married. We are all excited about him moving back to the United States, hopefully within this year, if possible. And Sekou has always been interested in music. And so he's now working in schools across the state, providing music training for students within the various schools that he's in. And so all of the crew are, you know, accomplishing the things that we had always hoped that they would. And so for me, and I'm sure, you know, as we think about your own children and grandchildren, that our task as parents is to build the platform. And then when they reach the stage, then their task is to carry out the things that we've taught them to do. And so in one of Ron's poems, he was saying, you know, when you teach them, they won't stray too far away.
That's right, yes.
They may stray away for a little while, but we just hope that they find their way back.
Yeah, what is it? Train up a boy and a girl in the way they should they should live.
Right.
But I think the testament to you and also the book is the fact that they were raised in an Afrocentric environment.
Yes.
You know, there's one part in the book where you talk about how when you bring your children out in public and they were to address people who came up to them in a special way. And I know for a lot of people, they say, no, that's like too regimented. That's like brainwashing the kids and whatnot. But you did that for a specific reason, right?
Yes, I did.
What was the reason?
And so we'll meet people who have African names.
Okay.
And if you ask them, what does your name mean or why do you have it, they don't know. And so my children, Sekou, I had the good fortune of meeting Sekou Touré, the former president of Guinea. And so when my former wife was pregnant at the time with Sekou, and so I said, you know, I want to honor, it's the only African president I've ever met, I want to honor Sekou in naming this brother. My former wife's family is from Haiti. And so Toussaint Louverture was one of our greatest heroes, helped to end slavery in Haiti by the French. And so in honor of that part of the legacy, let's honor the Haitian legacy by naming in honor of Toussaint Louverture. Imani, our family has celebrated Kwanzaa for 40 years. And so when it was time to pick a name for a daughter, when you get to your third child, you need some faith.
Yes, my brother. Yeah.
You get the third child, you need some faith. I mean, all of them were 2 years apart. It's just like, all right, this one's just coming out of diapers, and the next one's rolling out. And so, and then Naima, her full name is Naima Safia Ife, which means the benevolent loved one who is wise. And so I wanted them to understand the significance of their names, why they had their names, and if anybody ever asks you, you can explain to them what your name means and why you have it. And so coming from the Afrocentric perspective, then because people will try to give you nicknames and all those kind of things, right? And so we want to make sure that we're honoring the idea or the legacy that you're here to honor. And so it's easy to do that when you understand the significance of why you have your name.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And again, before we came on the air, we were talking about different celebrations, and you made a very interesting comment because you were talking about Black History Month.
Yes, sir.
And shared it with our audience, the significance of that at this particular time.
Absolutely. So Carter G. Woodson, our brother who founded Negro History Week in 1926. So this year makes 100 years of celebrating African American history. Carter G. Woodson was raised in West Virginia as a coal miner. And he was raised during what we commonly call Jim Crow, but we could call apartheid.
Oh, wow, yes.
And so the literacy rate for the black people was very low. So whether it was the UNIA paper that came out by Marcus Garvey or other publications, Carter G. Woodson would read those publications to the other brothers who worked in the coal mines with him as a way to make sure the community had the information.
Yes.
Carter G. Woodson eventually graduated with a PhD from Harvard. W.B. Du Bois was first, Carter G. Woodson was second.
Wow.
And what most people don't know is that what was then Negro History Week, the second week in February, he chose that week because of the birthday of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, beautiful, yeah.
And so in the 1970s is when it got moved from Negro History Week to Black History Month. And so we've been celebrating really for 100 years. And if you think about the moment that we're in history right now, in which the Trump maniacs are trying to take us back to Jim Crow, then as they try to erase our history, it's more important now than ever that we make sure that we are very clear and very vigilant about the fact that we're not going to allow that to happen. And so there's all kind of efforts to end DEI, to do different kind of things like that, that we really need to be very assertive about. That, you know, these programs were intended to try to bring some level of parity. That has not happened. In fact, what most people don't know is that white women were the group that benefited the most from what was then called affirmative action.
Isn't that something? Yeah.
Yeah. So they set up these programs, but then they make their own the beneficiary of it.
Wow. Ruby Shivers, she says great history. That's our queen Ruby Shivers.
Oh, I love Ruby. I love Ruby.
We all love Ruby, and for good reason. Because I consider her one of the pioneers.
Oh, absolutely.
Because when I met Ruby back in the day, she had a cable TV show. This is before the cable as we know it.
Right.
And she went from there to what she's doing now, and still teaching.
Yes.
You know, she has a new book out that we celebrated not too long ago on this particular program. Ron, I'm going to let you get in here before I go on to Mind, Body, and Books.
You know, I just want to say that it's so important. First of all, I truly apologize to your kids if I pronounce your name. So don't hold your father accountable now. I said, Dad, why you let that man pronounce that name wrong? So, but, you know, what's most important is the fact is the quality of the culture that you was raised up in. There's nothing greater than knowing that the blessing to curate your children to grow up and to become somebody. Just like this conversation, as your father indicated, and we here talk about raising up a child. But it's about the unity, as it was also mentioned. We as adults, we have to also come together, because as it's in his book and as we read and we talk about, it takes a village. A village, which means there's no such thing as, well, that's not my child. No, because somebody's watching your child do something wrong.
That's right.
You should be glad. But here, as it was said, we're going to get into it about how a single father that so many have been crucified, denied the opportunity to be respected and recognized for doing such a job. No, everything is not based on such as a woman raising a child. No, unless you know and understand your history and from where you come from. There has been many men who raised kids for whatever reason, because a lot of mothers, unfortunately, had passed on. So you have to look at the father who was there, with or without, and that's what's important. I truly want to say that because, again, as we continue the dialogue, you will hear more, and that's what's important.
That's very important. In this segment of the program we call Mind, Body, and Books, and what I do is I bring some books from my personal library, because I do believe that we should all have libraries, because we need to have this information at our fingertips. And so what I like to do is have a few books here, and these are books by a brother named Jason Wilson. And the first book that I just want to spotlight is called Cry Like a Man, subtitled Fighting for Freedom from Emotional Incarceration. And this is actually published in 2019. And it says here from the back of the book, break free from the deception of misconstrued masculinity and discover the power, love, and self-control it takes to cry like a man. His grandfather's lynching in the Deep South, the murders of his 2 older brothers, his verbally harsh and absent father, and his mother's spiral into depression formed Jason Wilson's childhood. But it was his decision to acknowledge his emotions and yield to God's call on his life that made Wilson the man and leader he is today. So again, this is Cry Like a Man. The second book that he wrote was entitled Battle Cry, Battle Cry, Waging and Winning the War Within. And this is from 2021. And here it says here, for a decade, Jason Wilson was losing the war within, the internal battle that many men waged daily but never taught how to win. As a result, he could not combat his toxic thoughts and emotions. Instead, he was conquered by them and communicated without composure, hurting those he loved and himself. This went on until he renewed his mind by releasing years of past trauma. His life and relationships were transformed when he learned how to master his emotions and express them with self-control. Battle Cry. And the last book from the same author, Jason Wilson, is, I think, appropriately titled, especially for this time. The name of the book is The Man, The Moment Demands. Master the 10 characteristics of the comprehensive man. And here also from the back of the book, in a world where misinformation distorts the essence of manhood and societal expectation push men into emotional incarceration, best-selling author and founder of the Cave of Adullam, Jason Wilson offers a path to freedom. The Man, The Moment Demands empowers you to become the right man in every moment by embodying the 10 characteristics of the comprehensive man. And these are the characteristics: the fighter, the provider, the leader, the lover, the nurturer, the gentleman, the friend, the husband, the father, and the son. Within these pages, you will learn how to unpack the impact of your past and unlock the power to shape your future. Embrace transparency and express the full spectrum of your emotions while maintaining self-control. Evolve beyond the alpha male myths through example, not intimidation, and answer the question, who are you? To strip away the facade and live authentically. And so these 3 books, I really enjoy reading them, and I also enjoy sharing them with you because, again, as men, many of us, myself included, were raised in households with just our mothers. I knew my father, but my mother and father never married. My role model was my uncle, and the good thing for me is that he was a man who loved to read. And so I loved to read. He was a man who loved to draw, so I loved to draw. Again, some young men are not as fortunate, but we look for men that we can emulate. We look for men that can make us proud. And today, this is the birthday of a very special man. Tavis Smiley calls him the greatest American because, again, he tried to foster the things that we said that we were about, and a lot of that sort of proved to be false. But this is the birthday. You know, January 19th is a national holiday for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But today, January 15th, is his actual birthday. And we are so glad and proud and privileged to have Brother Bill Davis Jr. here to talk with us, to expand the whole concept of Dr. King and talk about his legacy and talk about his birthday. So, ladies and gentlemen,
And before you go
yes,
on,
yes.
just as short,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you're right. This is going to be important for you to really delve into.
Take
And I
notes.
had this conversation. I'm a firm believer. I just want to take 5 seconds to say this. The most important, as you continue to listen to the dialogue today, take heed, and I want to be straight up and raw, straight to you. Take heed to what this man, this brother had traveled, and he fought and died for freedom as your ancestors. Do not take it lightly. We have a national holiday that too many of y'all find every excuse not to represent that day and stay home, dialogue, read. No, you go out shopping, you spend money here and there. Stop the bull, stop the negative, because the fact is, because you do that, as you see, and I say it all the time, you heard it earlier, your president, he's stripping you away until you come to your senses and unify yourselves. And you know what? We're going to do just like the Jewish people done. They don't do anything on that holiday, any other holiday, but you go out and celebrate on Columbus Day, Christmas Day, Washington birthday, Valentine's Day, because you spending money into the hands of the colonizers who don't like you. So I want to stop there because it's not my moment, all right? But keep in mind, celebrate, honor Dr. King and every single one, young, middle, there was Jewish and there was white, who fought and marched with him. Do the exact same today, even as a Million Man March 30 years ago or 30 years thereafter. There's no reason why we should be sitting back talking about what happened in Missouri, this and that and the other, because guess what? You know the old saying, they're coming for you.
Thank you, Brother Ron. I tell you, you don't hold your tongue, do you? Brother, this is my brother. This is my brother here. This evening, Brother Bill Davis Jr. in the spotlight.
I am phenomenally honored and privileged to have the opportunity to speak about Dr. King. And so, in the interest of, and so that book, The Man, The Moment Demands.
Yes.
The Moment Demand Dr. King in the 1950s and 60s. Wow. Right? And so, I'll give you the backstory first.
Yes.
So, my mother, Terry, is your complexion. My father, I'm his complexion. And so my mother loved Malcolm X. And so at an early age, had me listening to Malcolm X, Message to the Grassroots, all different things. And so I grew up as a nationalist. And so when the rebellion happened in Plainfield in 1967, I was sitting with my soon-to-be brother-in-law in the Volkswagen Beetle on Liberty and 4th, watching the people set buildings on fire. And then when the fire department came, people had guns trying to kill the firemen. I lived on the East End, close to what is now Booker School. And I saw the tanks and the National Guard rolling down from the Armory to the West End trying to find the people in order to, quote unquote, calm the situation down. And so when I go to Rutgers, it was not until I started to watch the Eyes on the Prize, and I'm hoping that everyone who is listening or watching will watch the Eyes on the Prize series, and then you observe the courage that the people in the civil rights movement faced, the hoses, dogs, tear gas, and all those kind of things. There's one segment in there in which King was marching in Chicago. When he's marching in Chicago, because he said it would just demonstrate that there was racism as present in the North as it was in the South. So he's marching in Chicago, and all these white people on the side throwing stuff, calling them horrible names, holding up watermelons and all that kind of thing. And so at the same time that somebody threw something, a firecracker went off. And whatever they threw hit King in the head. They later interviewed King the same day, and King said that he thought that he had died.
Wow.
But instead of stop marching, despite the fact, there were several different times in Eyes on the Prize series when he talks about he thought that he was going to get killed. King was born January 15th, 1929 in Atlanta. And I hope if no one has ever been, or if they get the opportunity to go to the King Center, when you get to the King Center, you will see the house that King was raised in. King's father and grandfather were both Baptist preachers. And so from the clergy perspective, King was born as African-American royalty, right? Since his father and grandfather were both Baptist preachers. And so King eventually decides to go to Morehouse. One of King's mentors was a brother by the name of Benjamin Mays. Benjamin Mays got out of slavery educated himself, become the president of Morehouse when King was a student. And so there are people who poured into Dr. King, that Herman Thurman, I mean, there are a bunch of different people who contributed to King's development. And so as Dr. King is acquiring his education, going to Crozier, going to Boston University to finish up all of his studies, he wasn't sure he wanted to be a preacher. But then he ultimately, when he met Coretta, and we can't talk about Martin without talking about Coretta, right? I mean, because when we talk about Martin, Coretta was more, or let me put it this way, Coretta was just as progressive in her politics as Martin was in his. And so she wasn't sure she wanted to date Martin. It took Martin some time to convince her that it was okay for them to date. But she helped to shape some of his political movements. And so once he decided to become a preacher, then when he went to Montgomery, Vernon Johns was the pastor at the church that King was going to ultimately become the pastor of. And the people in that church wanted Vernon Johns to be removed because they thought Vernon Johns was too radical. And so ironically, little did they know that when Dr. King got there, 70 years ago, December 5th, 1955, we are 70 years and a month away from when the Montgomery bus boycott started. And so Dr. King was 26 years old when he finished his PhD and then went to Montgomery in order to become a pastor. When the Montgomery bus boycott started, in fact, Claudette Colvin, who was living here in New Jersey, right, was 84 years old. She was 15 years old, sat down on the bus 6 months before Rosa Parks. But because of the politics at the time, the respectability politics, they did not want her case to be the one. So when Rosa Parks sits down on the bus, she's the secretary of the NAACP. She had already been involved politically with the Scottsboro Board case. Rosa Parks was already very progressive in her own politics. E.D. Nixon, who was president of the NAACP in Montgomery at the time, said, this is the case that we need in order to break the back of separate but equal, right? And so that's when they started. There's a woman that very few people know her name is Joanne Robinson. There was the Women Political Caucus. They stayed up all night to run off 50,000 flyers on a mimeograph machine, encouraging people to stay off the bus. The Montgomery bus boycott is what sparked Dr. King's trajectory into national leadership. And so for 381 days, the people of Montgomery boycotted the buses. They organized carpools. The police did everything they could do to try to do everything. So at one point, Martin Luther King's house gets firebombed, right? And so when we think about the courage of Dr. King, when we think about the different things that have happened in his life, when he was in New York, when his first book came out, and we talk about books, Dr. King wrote 5 books. So I hope that as we honor his legacy, we will read the 5 books that Dr. King wrote, right? Where do we go from here? Community of Chaos. Then yes, that's the last book, Stride Towards Freedom, Why We Can't Wait. I mean, we should go read these things because we get to hear see the evolution of his thinking. In 1957, when Ghana got its independence, Dr. King was in attendance with Kwame Nkrumah to celebrate the independence of Ghana. Richard Nixon was the vice president at the time, and Dr. King said to Richard, I'm glad you're here, but I hope that we can get you to make some of these changes in the United States. What most people don't know is that 2 weeks before Malcolm X was killed, Malcolm X went to visit Dr. King. And so Fannie Lou Hamer had invited Malcolm X to come to Mississippi to speak. And so when he was in Mississippi to speak, then he met Coretta. And so then he tells Coretta that he'd like to see Dr. King. Dr. King was incarcerated at the time that Malcolm went to his house. And so they never had a chance to meet. The picture that you see of them together is the time that they were at an event and they had a chance to take this picture together. But Dr. Malcolm X was 39 when he was assassinated. Dr. King was 39 when he was assassinated. Medgar Evers was 37 and assassinated before either one of those brothers. And so in the 1960s, and people can say that they think that this is a coincidence or a conspiracy, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, John Kennedy, Martin Luther King, and Robert Kennedy were all killed, all assassinated in a 5-year period of time. Right, so I want us to be clear about how vicious some of these circumstances can be. for 50 years, and in fact, your president, as Ron would say, supposedly is going to release the files. They blocked the King files from being released to the public for 50 years, right? And so the FBI and COINTEL program was following them around, planning stuff. There were people in both Malcolm and King's organizations who were FBI agents. In fact, when Malcolm was assassinated, the person on the stage administering first aid to him was an FBI agent, right? And so when King was assassinated, there were people in his circle who were part of the FBI. And so we have to be really clear about the fact that the country has never fulfilled the objectives of liberty and freedom for all. And so the people who were marching on the civil rights movement, and so when Tavis Brown said they were true Americans, those were the true Americans, trying to bring the reality of the ideals that have been advocated into current, to apply to all of us. The last point I want to make is this. In this moment, there are people who are trying to take us back to Jim Crow, what I would call apartheid, right? And so when we look at the fact that your president has ended DEI, has ended affirmative action, has threatened to, has dismantled the Department of Education, has defunded a whole lot of different initiatives that would allow our community to be able to advance. What are people going to say about how we met this moment 30 to 50 years from now? The same way that we're celebrating King and Malcolm and Fannie Lou Hamer and Coretta and Betty and all the different people, what are people going to say about us? And so when we look at, and it's a real paradox in a sense, that since ICE has been killing and beating up black and Spanish people for months, but when they killed Renee Good, a white woman, now it gets national attention and you see all kind of marches, right? Turner, Goodman, Swerner, and Cheney, right? And then Viola, and I forgot her last name, but a white woman who was killed during that time. We see parallels to what happened in the 1950s and 60s when those demonstrations were taking place, what we see today. And so it's important for us to be really clear about the fact that we should be as active as we are physically and emotionally capable to be. And so I know that the Frontiersmen here in Plainfield have a breakfast to honor Dr. King. The People's Organization for Progress are having a march in Newark on January 19th. And so we should be figuring out what type of event we want to go and how can we contribute to building the kind of the beloved community that Dr. King talked about, because it's up to us to make sure that our children, women, and all of us are facing fewer rights now than when we were growing up. And so earlier we talked about EOF. EOF is a function of what happened during the rebellion in the 1960s. Programs like EOF now are being dismantled. And so I'm a strong advocate for public education. And the better that we can make sure our children are educated. Mr. Robinson used to teach black history at the high school in Plainfield. They used to have what became New Horizons at the neighborhood house in Plainfield. Yes. Those are the kind of programs that we still need to, those programs are needed now. And so there are lessons that we have from the past that we need to apply today. Yeah. And the sooner that we can put those things in motion, the sooner we'll be able to see our children excel and accomplish the things. It's nothing, Frederick Douglass said this, and it's still applicable today. Power never concedes anything without a demand. Ooh, yes. It never has, and it never will.
My brother, I tell you, and not a note in front of him. You a bad brother. You a bad brother. Ron, I'm going to let you respond to that, but like I told you when we started the program, it flies by.
I'm telling you.
But I saw you making notes there, so I wanted to share your notes in response to Brother Black's presentation.
Yeah, my notes really confirm exactly what we're saying. So this way, even as we talk about the exact same thing, and I had the exact same conversation this morning. There's nothing new under the sun. What was happening today was happening always. The difference is today versus yesterday, and I'm saying this based on what I've learned and understand, is that we was a unified body. We stood collectively helping one another regardless of the situation. Okay, but today, too many of our people is asleep. Waking up, talking about they. Who is they? Our ancestors didn't talk about they. The only time you heard them say, they out there. But they was ready. There's no such thing as somebody come kicking down your door. It was unacceptable then. And all that we've been through, our ancestors been through, you cannot begin to imagine what our ancestors been through for you to have a platform today, and yet you surrender, which means to me you insult your ancestors by not standing up and recognizing what King and many others have fought and died for. As the brother said, Fannie Lou Hamer, you know, Dorothy Heights, Ida B. Wells, and everyone else, the brothers and all, they fought together. They came and done what they need to be done for the rights of black folks. Your freedom that you surrender, and you talk about what they do. Who the hell is they? I'm still trying to find out. But in short,
that's a good question.
because again, and let me say this too in short, because it all ties into the conversation. Many of y'all sitting around talking about reparation, but you don't talk about unifying yourself. You don't talk about coming together. As this brother said, and as we will continue, yes, King's birthday, Black History coming up, as the brother indicated. When I was at AT&T and before then, everywhere you went, every town, I can tell you, every town, there was a Black history or storytelling of black folks, our ancestors, our inventors, whatever. So even when King's birthday comes, even starting now, today, this moment, start coming together. Read some books. Read. This is what we talk about. Have a storytelling. It doesn't matter your education. Our ancestors, they couldn't read or write. They wasn't even allowed. But guess what? They became inventors, writers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm going to say this, and I said it years ago at Sunday school. You see, you have a degree. All of us have a degree for the most part. But that degree, and honestly, in my opinion, that piece of paper means nothing. Because if it meant something, then you wouldn't be crying and complaining about what the man is doing to you. But one thing that man can do, and he is threatened by you, is your education, your wisdom and knowledge. He cannot, and that's what he fears. And yet, when you surrender that, you give the dark shadows of evilness to have power over you. No, you come together. And we have to do this for the rights and freedom of our kids. Because the brother was saying, because the kids don't have a future if you don't stand together now. They look for you. Our father, our grandfather, our whatever the case may be. They did it. We had to carry on what they had taught us, and that's what's important.
And the thing that I want to share with our audience and with the brothers here, we talk about reading. And reading is more than fundamental at this particular point. You know, we don't try to tell you what to think. We just try to help you become critical thinkers. But I just want to share this. This is from Dr. King's first book called Strive Toward Freedom. And in this particular book, he lays out the tenets, the principles of his philosophy of nonviolence. And I just want to share this with you, just offer some food for thought. And then Ron is going to come back and take us out of here. But again, so there are 6 principles from that particular book. And I just want to share those with you. Principle number 1, nonviolence is a way of life for courageous people. Principle number 2, nonviolence seeks to win friendship and understanding. Principle number 3, nonviolence seeks to defeat injustice or evil, not people. Principle number 4, nonviolence holds that unearned voluntary suffering for a just cause can educate and transform people and societies. Principle number 5, nonviolence chooses love instead of hate. Principle number 6, nonviolence believes that the universe is on the side of justice. And so when you talk about Dr. King and what he stands for, well, he laid it out for you in his first book, Strive Toward Freedom. And so again, like Brother Bill Davis said, this weekend going into the Dr. Martin Luther King holiday, choose some kind of program that you're going to go to. And also, that day is not just to listen to speeches by people talking about Dr. King, but also it's a day of service. What are you going to do to be of service to your community? And so these are things that I want to talk about. I want to go back to Brother Bill Davis briefly, then come back to Ron. But Bill, give us some parting words.
Absolutely, and I appreciate the opportunity to do so, because I sent a couple of video clips that I hope we're going to get a chance for the audience to hear, because most people just know that I Have a Dream speech by Dr. King. Yes. One of the things that we should be clear about, from 63 when he made the I Have a Dream speech to 68 when he was assassinated, Dr. King's intellectual growth was enormous. And so he talked about the economic disparity. And so when Ron mentioned reparations, Dr. King advocated for reparations. He advocated for boycotts, right? When Dr. King, and I mentioned that he went to Ghana when Kwame Nkrumah was selected as president, when Dr. King in '67 spoke about opposing the Vietnam War, was April 4th, 1967. It was April 4th, 1968 to the day when he was assassinated. And so as he grew politically, as his worldview expanded, as he began to take positions that made people in the government uncomfortable, they began to rethink and provide resources and assistance to Dr. King. One point for those of us who live in New Jersey, there's two things that we need to be really clear about. Before the pandemic in 2020, the wealth gap between blacks and whites in New Jersey was 300,000. Black families, white families had 300,000 more in wealth than black families. Since the pandemic, it has increased to 600,000. New Jersey has the sad distinction of having the largest wealth gap between blacks and whites in the country. Has the sad distinction of having the highest disproportionate rate of black men being incarcerated in the country. It is the 5th most segregated state in the country. So I had to take my sister to see a doctor, to a doctor visit earlier. As I'm riding through Bedminster and Far Hills and these different towns, I'm really clear we're not out there. But if we go to Camden, North, Trenton, Patterson, Plainfield, we know, right? And so when you look at the gap, the educational gap between communities where we live in large numbers and communities where white folks live in large numbers, then we have some significant work to do. So I want to reinforce your message that, yes, it is time for us, for those of us that are educated formally or informally, to make a contribution to our community as a whole, because what we give away is what we keep. And so the things that we share, the things that we provide people, when I see former students and they tell me, Professor Davis, I appreciated, what I learned from you in class or the different things that we've done together, it's an invaluable experience. And so our task is this is our leg in the race. So we go talk about Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman and all of those people that ran that leg in the race. We talk about King and Malcolm and W. Du Bois and all the people that ran the leg in that race, right? They handed the baton over to us. This is our leg of the race. And so it's time for us to make sure that we run our leg of the race in honor of those ancestors that we cherish so much.
Thank you, Brother Bill Davis, Jr. And Ron, you got 10 minutes to get us out of here.
This brother have given you 4 years of college in 20 minutes. There's no way, shape, form, or fashion if you didn't tune your ears into what this brother has said, recited from his memory, the wisdom and knowledge that was bestowed upon him, then you are asleep, and we ain't talking to you. But whoever's
wake up, everybody.
Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. See, this brother gave it to you. You didn't hear from us. You heard it from him, straight up. He didn't stutter. He ain't skip a beat. He was straightforward, and it was clear and with a tone that was impossible for you, even as a child, to be able to eat food that was given to you without you choking. And the only way you choke is say, whoa, I didn't know what's going on. But go back and read your history, because it is important. Also, before I forget, also keep in mind, because time coming up, there's a lot of activities going on. And one of those I want to mention to you is Ruby Shivers in her new children's book. And bring all your kids, your grandkids, whatever, somebody's child, to her book signing on January 24, 2026 at the Plainfield Performing Arts Center. I think I don't have the time, but I tell you what, get there early. Get there at 11 o'clock. See, I don't give you an hour or two, because you don't hesitate to be out there all night trying to get an iPhone. So be there to support this sister, because you're supporting these kids. And as I said earlier, the kids are the future. They are tomorrow. She took time. She put together. Listen to her story as she shared with you. Let me read.
You're good. No, we have time.
A couple of things I want to read right quick, by the changing of the season. Keep that in mind. Key thoughts. Too often people take for granted that physical sensations signal that something is about to change. These thoughts are assumed to be harmless or not harmful. not necessarily catastrophic for living. How should we interpret the terms or statement in light of the changing season? Matthew 24:32-42 sets the tone for understanding the message. One does not know the time or day as seasons change. These are changing seasons. Reflection on the changing season. Too often, many experience difficult times involving emotional struggles, physical depression, loneliness, sadness, or a variety of unexpected turmoil in their lives. Every day as a season of time and the air we breathe change, something shifts in the blink of an eye. How can one bring the pain of hurting into focus and into a place of understanding that God is in control? Those who, we like to say all recognize God. He's in control. You can't pray. You can't go to church talking about God is in control. I was saved by the blood of Jesus. And you turn around and do the opposite of what you claim to believe. If you don't have faith, then there's a problem. Our ancestors have faith through conditions unimaginable. To all sisters, to all brothers. Brothers, you are the foundation. You are the security. Sisters, you are the household. You're there to help raise these kids. And together it's a village. Your child is my child, no matter how you look at it. We have to look after our kids and our community, because guess what? As long as we stay departed and divided, everybody else will invade your community, and you can't cry for help, because God gave you the wisdom and knowledge and the power to stand on the word no matter what. Our ancestors did, and as we was talking about today, King stood on what he believed. Even when he got tired, he said, I'm tired. Even when he was in jail, he almost gave up, but he didn't. But he said, I've been to the mountaintop.
That's right.
Do you see the mountaintop? Or you looking at what?
Like I said, I think we have time for one more short piece. But again, our guest has been Brother Bill Davis Jr., the author of this amazing black classic, Baba and the Crew, a true story of a single black father's journey to redemption. And Ron, you got another piece for us?
Yes, and let me kind of shoot it down a little bit for you. Swimming across the winds, swimming across the breeze of time, as the wind softly cascaded waves high above the ocean floor, leaving only the moment to remember how high the waves can carry one into an atmosphere, with no worries to cry over, no pain to feel. Swimming across the wind, sailing through the air effortlessly until time releases solace and the mind escape, reaching the soul. No regrets, no apology for being free, to swim through the silent air, whispering sounds of nothing. Life is the mystery unfolding while the heart beats many times, changing the strokes through a smooth, swift movement from side to side, leaving no trace of its whereabouts, just an endless sway with no complaints to shift directions from the main course. Stroking backwards with ease, gliding with the soft movement like a butterfly, and no sound to ruffle the nerves or disturb concentration about how far one has to swim. Like a cruise across the Mediterranean Sea, aboard an ocean liner, life is so precious that calmness sends one into a sedated state of absence from a world that indulges in confusion. Swimming across the winds as one dives into the waves without any turbulence, losing consciousness as the air of existence revives the soul without grasping or choking to be saved. No need to be rescued from drowning in the air due to the lack of revival equipment. Only organic, unadulterated freshness like a holy grail of ancient time. Swimming across the wind is so vast, the distance is endless, with no interruption, nothing that penetrates each stroke as one rolls, no loss of balance from a natural buoyancy, just a soothing glide, effortless, and the waves of air continues to swirl beyond the imagination, and the feeling is so sensational. Whispering voice, whisper calmness, saying, worry not, you are safe without harm. Memories are the state where many stars shine over the glassy sea, and the legacy has a calm while the moments to remember my life with thee.
So this has been Poetically Speaking with yours truly, Terry Benjamin and Ronald C. McCray. Our guest for this evening has been Brother Bill Davis Jr., author of the book Bob and the Crew, a true story of a single black father's journey to redemption. Again, we thank you for giving us this time again, and we will see you again on Sunday. So until we see you again, good evening and good night.